All right, time now for this morning's RBI, and it's maybe a nice segue because today's most random and interesting thing is on what else? The big political and oil news. The president opening up the emergency oil reserves to try to drive down gasoline prices. This was the largest ever and only ever non-emergency release and swap of oil from the SPR. Nearly every other time it has been a storm or some other emergency that has caused it. Look at this. The other times the U.S. either sold or swapped out more than 1 million barrels of oil from the Strategic Petroleum Reserve. Well, the first time, Operation Desert Storm in '91, Hurricane Ivan, Hurricane Katrina, Hurricanes Gustav and Ike in '08, the Libyan Civil War, the only non-hurricane after the first one, Hurricane Isaac in 2012, Hurricane Harvey in 2017. Are you seeing a trend? And now this year, I actually didn't even know what to call it when I wrote it. I'll just put SPR swaps. Well, some have suggested maybe this is a political storm. Who knows? Either way, this was also the biggest ever release, though that's a bit misleading. The headline total was 50 million barrels. But remember, 18 million of those barrels are just accelerated from a previous selling plan. So really, it's 32 million new barrels. Now, there's a few reasons that oil prices rose on Tuesday. Number one, the market expected this, right? They've been talking about it for weeks and actually thought it might be more. We use close to 20 million barrels of oil per day in the U.S., so put that into context, maybe call it 2 days' worth. And the global additions from India, Japan, and South Korea are altogether fairly small in the grand scheme of things compared to OPEC. Plus, the oil that is in the SPR may not be the kind that U.S. companies like to use. Thicker, heavier, more sour. Basically, it is syrup. Now, it can be used in an emergency, but since there is no emergency, some have reported that much of that newly released oil may actually be sold to other countries whose refiners do like to use it. Countries like China and India. In fact, they could end up seeing more of this oil than American producers. So think about that. Will we likely sell some of our emergency reserves to China and then have to buy or refill that oil back next year when prices might be higher? Something to think about. Random and hopefully interesting.